Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Stereo Hysteria. Our April 2022 artists of the month, Amelia Fletcher and Rob Pursey, have been making joyous, melodic, DIY pop music with a variety of groups since the mid-1980s, when they formed Talulah, a charmingly ramshackle indie pop band out of Oxford. That group was championed by legendary BBC DJs Janice and John Peel, but plagued by frequent lineup changes, including Rob's departure 3 gigs in, and plenty of snide comments from the British press. After Talulah's breakup, Amelia contributed vocals to early records by such indie groups as The Brilliant Corners, The Wedding Present, and The Pooh Sticks. And in the 90s, the core members of Talulah went on to form Heavenly, a seminal band whose sprightly sound is frequently cited as an example of twee pop, although a careful listen to their lyrics reveals that they were anything but simple and naive. We're currently listening to Heavenly and an instrumental called Sacramento that appeared on their third album, 1994's The Decline and Fall of Heavenly, whose title is in reference to a legendary basement show in Sacramento that was witnessed by Heavenly superfan Dave Parasite, of our November 2013 Artist of the Month, Parasites. After 4 stellar albums, released in the UK on Sarah Records and in the USA by K Records, Heavenly disbanded following the tragic passing of their drummer, Amelia's brother Matthew. The band's remaining members changed direction and released consistently excellent and massively underrated music under the names Marine Research and Tender Trap. In recent years, Amelia and Rob have continued making music together as the Catenary Wires, and more recently started a lockdown-spawned punk rock band called Swansea Sound, featuring vocals from Hugh Williams of the Pooh Sticks. They've also recently started a record label called Skepwax, and curated a new compilation called Under the Bridge, a collection of new tracks recorded by former Sarah Records artists. And when they're not making music, Rob is an award-winning producer of television programs, and Amelia is an esteemed economist who's a professor at the University of East Anglia, an independent director on the Competition and Markets Authority, and was appointed OBE and CBE. And on top of it all, they're parents with teenage daughters. Somehow, they found a bit of spare time to talk with Stereo Hysteria from their home in Kent via Zoom. And we'll be hearing our conversation throughout this episode, as well as music from their various projects over the years. We'll begin by hearing Marine Research, and an irresistible song, released as a single from their solo album, 1999's Sounds from the Gulf Stream, called Parallel Horizontal.
Makeup is staining the pillow, I move close, closer still and still the dream never shifts. A long gone love, never threatening, or I would be letting him talk T-shirt and lips. He's crazy and hazy, off in a daze, it's true. I try not to mind, but inside I'm shouting, what's it about this time? My head in such a muddle, wanting so much to cuddle up like artillery. 2 spoons got close together, listening out at the weather, hot and battery. He's toothy and goofy, acting as if it's true. I try not to mind, but inside I'm shouting, what's it about this time? And Mr. touches open hand, I wonder if he'll understand. I wonder if he'll understand. Parallel. He moves away upon his side, as our affection runs so dry, as our affection runs so dry. Parallel. Horizontal. Parallel. Makeup is staining the pillow, I move closer still and still the dream never shifts. A long gone love, never threatening, or I would be letting him talk T-shirt and lips. Lucidly delusive, acting abstruse, it's true. I try not to mind, but inside I'm shouting, what's it about this time? But inside I'm shouting, what's it about this time? Do 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 do.
I usually like to start off conversations just kind of asking about the role of music in your lives as you were growing up. Like if you came from particularly musical families, or if there are any early artists or songs that captured your imagination.
That's a really good question. I can tell you that my upbringing when I was little, my dad had played guitar in a jazz band. He was really into Django Reinhardt and the Hot Club of France, which I later discovered to be really great music. But I'm told that when I was born, I was the first of 3 kids. He just stopped doing music. I think he maybe decided that being in a band was not an appropriate thing to be if you were a dad. Not a lesson that we've carried on. But he always had this guitar under his bed that I was fascinated by, and it was a big old acoustic guitar. And the action on it, to press the strings down was really hard work because it wasn't a great guitar, and you had to have huge shovel-like hands made of metal to push it. So I'd try and play it, and occasionally I could get a little tune out of it, but then I'd put it back in its box. But it remained this kind of mysterious object that I wanted to be a guitarist when I saw it, but I was too feeble to actually play it because it was an adult one. So that was the only live music that was going on, which is me trying to play my dad's guitar and failing.
And I had absolutely none, really, that my mum couldn't even sing in tune. My dad, I didn't really hear sing, but I think he probably could sing a bit in tune, but neither of them could play anything at all. And were kind of vaguely supportive of me learning to play the recorder and the violin, but they didn't push me and they weren't particularly interested. But they did really like particular types of music. So they particularly liked musicals, and they particularly liked the Carpenters and kind of basically a middle of the road, and the Beatles, stuff like that.
There was a lot of Carpenters. If anybody came round socially, the Carpenters got put on because it was like the ultimate easy listening music. But I did rather like it. And
there was always music in the car, so I think that there was a lot of singing harmonies together, all out of tune probably, but along to musicals and the Carpenters in the car. But I think that's about as far as it goes in terms of the family.
Okay. And so when did you start to discover the sort of more underground sounds? Like I would imagine at this time in England, the radio must have been really important in that because it's so centralized.
It was important. And so both of us, when we were teenagers, we got into listening to the John Peel show. And by listening to the John Peel show, you were effectively meeting thousands of people later on in your life who would also have been listening to the John Peel show because it was so influential. But before that, I can remember, and I was quite little because I was way too young to be a punk, but I can remember being in the car with my aunt and uncle, and we lived down in Bristol, and they were kind of very sort of rural kind of people. We were in the countryside, and it was the chart show, and Pretty Vacant came on the radio, and I could sense the tension building because my aunt and uncle were in the front of the car, and I was sat in the back. And I was thinking, well, this sounds quite good. I quite like this. And then at one point when John Lydon went, and we don't care, and we don't care, my aunt went, and we don't care either, and switched the radio off. and that was the end of that. So that did make an impression. So I thought, that was quite dramatic. And the song sounded good, but I only got to hear as far as the first chorus, because then she wouldn't turn it back on.
I think my entry was probably actually The Cure. Because my best friend Vicky absolutely loved The Cure and kind of basically just needed someone to go with her to lots of gigs. So I've probably still seen The Cure more than most other bands. I found it very difficult. I was into pop music, but I could see that there was something cool about it. So I got into that, and then she kind of educated me, really. She gave me a load of cassette tapes that she taped off her own albums or other people's albums, and I gradually got into it. But actually, when we were growing up, maybe 14 or 15, there was actually a program. John Peel is now folklore, but actually there were programs before the John Peel show, someone called Kid Jensen and then someone called Janice Long, who sadly recently died. And they actually had similar but not quite as difficult shows. So I got really, really into those. I would listen to them every night, and I'd have my finger on the button of the tape recorder ready to tape anything that I really liked. So kind of I ended up with tapes with the first 2 seconds missing of all sorts of songs. But then I'd play them loads and kind of get into them. And in fact, the very first Talulah Gosh session radio session was actually for Janice Long, not for John Peel, which I think kind of shows that she had her finger on the pulse. And then I first heard John Peel, and I actually thought that I knew he had I think it was a Joy Division session on, and I thought, because I was meant to be going to bed, and he went from 10 till 12, and I was meant to definitely be asleep by 11, and I thought the session would be on all in one go, and then I could go to sleep. But the way John Peel did it, as you probably know, is he spread the songs through the show to make you listen to the whole show, right, which is a completely reasonable thing to do, but really completely screwed up my sleep, basically, for the rest of my teenage.
Well, you had priorities.
Yeah.
I guess when did those two impulses between like listening to this new exciting music and having your own musical interest sort of collide into let's start a band?
Well, we started.
Well, we weren't in a band together until, well, I was in Talulah for about 3 gigs and then I left. I didn't much like it. But prior to that, obviously we'd both been in bands when we were really quite young. My first band was called the Inane, and there were 3 of us. We all lived in this little village, where my auntie and uncle lived. The sort of ones who said we don't care either. And what happened was that my friend's brother had briefly wanted to be a rock hero, and he bought this Marshall stack and a guitar, and then really quite quickly decided he couldn't be bothered. So that was just there. So I was persuaded to buy a bass, and by now we were into Joy Division and probably early Cure and stuff like that. It was around that time.
Okay.
So and I was quite pleased that you could be quite cool playing the bass, going bum 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 bum, and then you were playing transmission. So that bass seemed like a good option. So I bought a bass that was so heavy that I think it's one of the reasons I'm not very tall now. Is that I wore this bass and it was really cheap. I don't know what it was made of, but it was like wearing a boat or something. It was immense, and we couldn't drive. We were too young, so we would put the amp and my bass in a wheelbarrow and wheel the wheelbarrow around to the village hall, where we would make a horrible noise and sometimes get told to shut up. So that was our first band. It was kind of like post-punk.
The Inane, that's a great name.
Yeah, it was a good name. I think it probably was. We were quite good. And then that band turned into something called the 5-Year Plan later, which involved more people. There were 2 women in the band, and the songs were a bit more ambitious.
Which is about to put out its first album.
This is really true. So during lockdown, last year, Tim, my friend, who I was in this band with, we never really recorded it properly because we didn't have any money, and we just weren't in a position to do that. And the songs were quite ambitious, and they were probably more ambitious than we could play, if you know what I mean. So he decided that we would finally record the LP that we should have done, when we were 18, and we've now pretty much finished it. So it's actually going to come out. Previously,
the slowest album ever.
Yeah. So I've done my bass and guitar bits, and he's down in Bristol still. He still lives in Bristol, doing the other bits, and so it will finally see the light of day.
Excellent.
And then I moved to Oxford and I met Amelia, and then I joined Talulah, got fed up, came back again, and then joined Heavenly, and then we've been sort of kind of at it ever since.
And I also had a school band called the Less Pleasant Splatter Babies.
They weren't called the Less Pleasant.
No, they were called Splatter Babies. We were a bit confused, basically. I think I wanted.
The name is quite unambiguous.
But I think, despite our name, I wanted to be the Marine Girls or something quite. Gentle.
You wanted to be in the Marine Girls,
yes.
And you're in a band called Splatter
Babies. Yes, that was the problem.
Well, Tracy didn't go around splattering babies. She had sensitive thoughts on a Sunday afternoon and wrote songs.
Yeah, so I think basically we were kind of a goth band, but without kind of knowing, kind of accidentally. So I think we, unlike Rob's band, were really quite bad, but it was a good chance to kind of, learn what it was like to be in a band. And in fact, 2 of the other people ended up in bands that carried on alongside Talulah, etc. So one of them was in a band called Jack, and one of them was in a band called Swerve Driver, you've probably come across.
Yes.
So Adam from Swerve Driver was in the Splatter Babies with me. He doesn't talk about it much, I don't think.
That should be the pillar of his resume.
When he talks to all his other mates in their leather jackets. I was in a band with Amelia Fletcher. I don't reckon he says that.
Here's Talulah with a song from their 1986 session on The Janice Long Show. a song written by Amelia's brother Matthew, also called Talulah. You've sort of mentioned Talulah already as being a little fractious or a difficult band to be in.
Yes, so it was a difficult band to be in. I mean, Rob left very quickly because he found us all pretty insufferable, I think.
I'm afraid that is true.
We didn't really know what we were doing. And I think that what was good about Talulah, actually looking back retrospectively, is that we didn't know what we were doing. And we kind of wanted to be a girl group, but didn't know how. Wanted to be the Buzzcocks, but didn't know how. And we were kind of a weird amalgam of all these things, but for some reason it kind of worked, which it needn't have done. But yeah, it obviously drove Rob round the bend. And
it was kind of strange because the songs were really good and I liked playing them, and all the individuals in the band I liked as individuals, so you and Pete and Matthew, but together the combination as a band, it's like being in the worst family ever. I think it was just for a little bit overexcited, and then because it became quite big quite quickly, it became the new thing. Well, in the indies world it became the new thing, and I think that did probably make people behave a bit crazily, like overexcited.
It was very strange. I did the maths the other day and I've now forgotten the maths, but more or less from me meeting Liz, who was the other singer in the band, to us playing our first gig was about 6 weeks. And about 2 weeks after that, we had a page 3 in NME, full page. So it went really quickly. And when I met Liz, she couldn't actually play the guitar. And she had a guitar that she bought for 5p at a jumble sale. So from buying a 5p guitar at a jumble sale to page 3 of NME was probably quicker for Liz than anyone in history.
I think she kind of hated it too, because she didn't carry on for much longer, did she?
No, well, yeah, she wasn't sure. It was difficult because her parents didn't send her to Oxford University to join a band, and I think they gave her quite a hard time about it. So yeah, Liz left, and then we got in Ethna instead. And actually, Ethna is still probably my best mate, and is very good fun, and was very good fun to be in a band with them. So it was her and my boyfriend and my brother and a guy called Chris. So actually, as a set of people, it was a really great set of people. But I think because we were all so close, it was fractious for that reason. Everyone thought it was their band. Everyone thought that they were writing the songs. Well, everyone was writing the songs. And I ended up basically singing songs that I didn't really want to be singing, even though retrospectively I listen back and think they were actually quite good. At the time, basically I wanted to be a dictator. Okay. And I wasn't sufficiently a dictator.
You now perhaps begin to see why it wasn't much fun. It took a while. But, yeah.
From Talulah Gash's John Peel session in early 1988, here's a song written by Amelia called Be Your Baby.
You want me to be your baby. You came around and bought the jacket just for me to wear. You sat down and you said, let's see how above this heaven will your hair. You just laughed and then took that rug and said, yes, no, you can be my friend. I wanted everything to do since you were telling me. I wanted everything to do now too. I wanted everything to do since you were telling me. You were nothing else too. You want me to be your baby. You took me out and showed me all the records I should buy. You helped me when I said maybe. There are still some more things we should try. Well, we tried them all, you were mine and I was wrong. But still we did more. I wanted everything, do everything, you were telling me. I wanted everything, do everything now too. I wanted everything, do everything, you were telling me. You're nothing else too. When you say you're mine, well, I feel so inclined to say, what could I say? You're in my heart, but you're not mine. But you won't see things you could see. 'Cause we don't care, just so long as I'm right. You don't care, you don't care. You want me to be your hero. You put me up above you and you hoped I wouldn't fall. You hate me when I said I don't want to be your dress-up doll no more. When you gave something new and you said you loved me too. All those times I knew I wanted everything, do everything, do everything. I wanted everything, do everything now too. I wanted everything, do everything, do everything. You were nothing at all. You were nothing at all.
To be honest, when in later stages of Talulah Gash, I think by the time Ethna was playing, I came back and sometimes became the driver, and I found it was more pleasant being the driver, probably because none of them could drive, but also you could have the sort of like the fun of the social thing without the strange frenzy of like the actual gigs and the kind of somewhat overheated stuff that went on around the actual shows.
Sure.
So I was bassist and then driver.
Not necessarily a demotion.
In my mind, it was. I was a happy man.
It was definitely his choice, not ours.
Apologies for the slightly mean bass player joke. I'm a bass player myself, so I'm allowed.
No, we can take it. You know we can take it.
Here's a song released on the B-side of the last Talulah Gash single, written by the band's guitarist Peter Momchaloff, called Way of the World.
You're my friend and I hold you so dear. Tell me
One thing that Talulah and a lot of your subsequent projects had in common is this sort of independent streak. Like, your bands have always seemed like self-contained units, like from the songwriting, the production, the distribution, promotion, all that stuff. What do you think the pros and cons are to the DIY approach, and how has it changed from like the C86 era to the Bandcamp era? Is that what we're in now?
Yeah.
The age of Skepwax.
It's a really good question, because when we first started Heavenly, so Talulah was over and we all got back together and Heavenly started, which was like a much more fun band to be in. Me and Amelia did talk about starting a label then, so we talked to a distributor and they said, yeah, okay, you can start a label, and I guess they felt that Heavenly Records would sell, therefore it'd be a good way to start a label.
Okay.
But then Matt and Claire from Sarah Records asked us if we want to be on their label. We thought, oh, phew, somebody else is going to do it. So we didn't do it. And then many years later, we've finally done it. I think at the time, to have a label was crucial because you had to get records pressed. You had to have a physical product that somebody needed to get into a shop. And obviously flexes and fanzines were the sort of the other currency. But even that cost money to do. You know, you needed money. And if you had a distributor, they would forward you some money so that you could get the thing going. So that was okay. But the emphasis was entirely on physical product, because if you didn't have a physical product, you were just a gigging band. So I think the main difference between then and now is that you can now release things if you want to. You can release them digitally, and there's a whole other set of problems associated with that, obviously. I mean, with Bandcamp on the one hand and evil things like Spotify on the other, where there are two rival models now, which is one where the band is self-driven and gets to keep most of its revenue, Bandcamp, and there's another one where you hand over everything to a kind of corporate monolith which only cares to keep its consumers happy, which is like an extremer version of what major label life was like back in the day. So I think, to be honest, because we were, we're all overeducated and we were all at Oxford University, so we were the sort of pretty weird people to be doing a band at all. I've always felt more defined by being in a band than anything else. And so we were all in bands before we went to college and carried on being in bands afterwards. But, we were kind of, we weren't rich, but we weren't in the sort of doldrums. We had opportunities. And so, I think while on the one hand, politically, I would much rather be in a position where you're in control of it, because I think that's the way things should be. You should control the means of production, is what it comes down to. But we were also, privileged people, so we could go and get a job that would pay reasonably well and keep on doing the band on the side. So we were never in a position where we were forced to try and make a living out of it in the way that some bands end up being in that position. So we never sought record label deals just because we didn't need it. We didn't like the look of it. And we thought it was running your life, having a mortgage with a record label, because that's effectively what you're doing, because they're just giving you a big loan. It's just like, you don't want a mortgage when you're sort of 21. It's the last thing you want.
Here's the B-side of Heavenly's first single, released on Sarah Records in 1990 and collected on the 2020 compilation A Boot to Heavenly, The Singles, a song called Over and Over.
Just
I think we also, or at least I also, was never quite sure that I could do it again. Every time I wrote a song, I kind of like, well, I did it again, but then I was never really sure I could do it again. And I thought that signing up to a major label where that basically became your job felt really quite frightening. And I also felt, from a female perspective, that most, not all, some women didn't seem to be able to negotiate it, but an awful lot of women on major labels were basically forced down particular stereotypes, female stereotypes. And I when I was quite young, I was friends with a band called the Bluebells, and they in turn were friends with Strawberry Switchblade. And they told me a story that stuck in my head, and I don't actually know if it's true, I should check sometime, but that Strawberry Switchblade were huge in the UK at one point, and on a major label. And it was Christmas, and the Falklands War was on, and they were told that on Christmas Day, they couldn't spend Christmas Day with their families in Scotland. They had to go to the Falklands to entertain the troops. And I remember thinking, if that's what I've got to do if I sign to a major label, I am definitely not signing to a major label. So it was that sort of thing, you know, anything for promotion, no. So, and actually, interestingly, I think men can be in a stronger position on that sort of thing. They can hold their own, whereas women, at least then, and probably still now to some extent, are just kind of expected to drop everything and do what they're told. So yeah, that felt like not a place I wanted to be.
And then once you discover that there is life out there that you can, if you're on an independent label, like, so we were on Sarah in Britain and on K Records in America. So, and we suddenly had this network of really cool people. So we could go to America, we could get to meet and play with, you know, Riot Girl bands and find ourselves part of that. So it's just so much more interesting if you're free to be with the people who haven't been co-opted. And I think I feel that more and more strongly rather than less and less. So it's partly why we started the label. It's like given we know what the value of that is, then if you can create a space within which you and then other people could operate and maintain their freedom, as it were, and hopefully get some records out, then that's about as good as it gets. I mean, the downsides are obviously getting the records out and getting a lot of people to hear them, because it's difficult. And obviously we aren't people with a huge marketing budget, so we rely on...
We have no marketing budget.
Correction, we have no marketing budget. We're going to sell some Splatter Babies t-shirts to raise some funds. That should go well.
Men's large.
Okay. But what we have got, obviously, was attached or connected to that network of people all around the world. And that actually is easier now, because like here we are talking to you on Zoom, and
sure.
You know, so we can send our music through as download to DJs all over the world. And so it is possible. It
is possible. I think Calvin and Kay really captured the idea of the international pop underground just with that term. And obviously we started being indies before I even heard of that term. But when I heard of it, I actually thought, that is what it's all about. It's all about being part of a community worldwide of people that care about the same stuff as you do, and being creative in similar ways or linked ways. And that's what I'm passionate about, really. So I'm not particularly passionate about, you know, having a number one single. I'm passionate about being part of a group of people I admire.
Here's a song recorded during Heavenly's second John Peel session in 1994, which was released on vinyl earlier this year by the label Precious Recordings of London. A song called Sperm Meets Egg, So What?
Don't say it's groovy, don't say that to me, don't say I've had my chance. Get your head out of my lap, I can't think why you thought that I could want such a thing. I thought you knew me, it's not easy to explain, it just feels well kind of lame, and I don't want to get fat, at least not for that. What do you say? Should I believe you? How can you think that? It's a fine couldn't be. I'm not so young, but life was getting fun. I won't believe that you'd wish this on me. Don't say that, don't say that to me. Kid, won't say that another What do you say? What do you say? Should I believe you? Should I believe you? How can you think that? It's the finest thing. Oh no, not me. It couldn't be. I'm not so young, but life was getting fun. I won't believe that you could wish this on me. Don't say that, don't say that to me. Kid, don't say another chance.
A lot of your bands have been given the categorization or the genre of twee, which is sort of like, it can be both a celebration and sort of a pejorative. How do you relate to it as a genre or a description? Is it a point of pride or annoyance?
I think it's kind of both, because I think it's a word that's been reclaimed, actually, because it was one of the many words that we used as insults to bands like Heavenly at the time, because the women didn't behave like rock chicks and didn't seem to make themselves very available to journalists. And the men sort of wore glasses and didn't put their feet on the monitors, and therefore were committing another sort of gender crime in their own right. They weren't exploring their masculinity by kind of, wearing leather trousers and like doing rock theatrics. So words like twee were used as an insult. By now, the music scene, the mainstream music scene in the UK at least, was now dominated by fake indies. So you had things like Creation, which had been independent, but which these labels were subsets of corporate labels. And so they took the sort of veneer of independence, but actually at heart they were dead. So we were underneath all that. And I think that the kind of twee was an insult then. But now, obviously, sometime later, the word's been through lots of metamorphoses, and it seems to refer to fashion. I mean, if you're young, then twee is more to do with the sort of clothes fashion that was around a while ago. Mm-hmm. But people in the music scene now use it in the same way that we might say indie pop or something. It's lost its stigma.
Yeah. So I, when it first came around, I was really, really unhappy about it. But actually, I've become more and more relaxed about it. It's just becomes the term that is used for that genre of music, and I guess it needs a term, so I'll live with it. And what made me particularly happy about it quite recently was on TikTok, which our daughters are on, twee is a thing. The kids are excited about twee, and they showed us a little TikTok video where someone was explaining about where twee originally came from, talking about Talulah Gosh and Beat Happening and stuff. Our kids were so proud we'd actually infiltrated TikTok. They're not the least bit interested in our music usually, but that was a big plus.
I tried to sum it all up, because it did become quite a big debate certainly amongst indies of our age, some of whom still absolutely hate it and get very offended by it, which is fair enough, because they remember what was intended by it. But I thought, oh, well, actually there's you may as well own this. It's like words change, like, queer has changed, gay has changed. I mean, all these words change, and they become, they lose their barbs, and they become sometimes, sort of emblems of pride. So we've just made some heavenly T-shirts, well, they're heavenly letters, the flowery letters that say riot. So riot twee seemed to be the densest way I could think of to sum up what heavenly was, because we were both those things.
and on the plus side, the good thing about the word twee is it does capture one of the really key things that we were trying to stand for, which was essentially anti-machismo. Mm-hmm. So I think in that sense, it is kind of appropriate.
And we did invite it. I mean, like when we chose the name Heavenly, the reason we got to that name was that we decided we should choose a name that would be so fey that the kind of journalists we hated wouldn't even be able to say it, because it would make them so cross. So there was Petal, there was something else quite floral, and then Heavenly we sort of lighted on because we thought that was kind of, going to really annoy them.
Right.
So we were already having a fight about it even then.
It was the same reason, actually, that Sarah Records were called Sarah Records. Yeah. They determinedly chose a slightly dull girl's name.
Yeah.
We'll continue with a highlight from Heavenly's third album, 1994's The Decline and Fall of Heavenly, called Modestic. You've mentioned being on Sarah Records in the UK and K in the USA. Did you see at that time in the 90s much of a difference between the American and British music scenes at that time?
Yeah, it was really strange for us because essentially we had a different image on both sides of the Atlantic. Because in the UK, we were in the Sarah scene, which was, as you know, people quite introspective, a lot of songs about feelings. I mean, DIY, but not particularly sparse. Actually, some of the songs sounded quite full. And then we went over to K, and K was much more kind of instilled in punk, really, and inspired by that, and much rawer and much more spiky and political. Sarah was political in its own way, particularly from a feminist perspective and a socialist perspective, but K was kind of more overt about it, and the bands on K were more overt about it. And so when we played over there, people thought of us as fairly punk, cool, and it was quite strange. So as you might imagine, we kind of preferred being in America.
Okay.
I mean, it was true that when we played gigs here with other Sarah bands, that we were the loudest and also probably the most fun because we were quite exuberant on stage. It wasn't intense. I mean, it was quite loud, but it was quite entertaining, I think. So we were playing with bands who were more introspective and quieter as people and as performers over here. So we probably fitted in slightly better over there, certainly a live band.
Okay.
We could play with Bratmobile or, Tiger Trap, and it really worked.
Right.
Actually, Riot Girl was the place where it got really confusing to people, because in the US, we were seen as, I think, we weren't absolutely a Riot Girl band, but we played with lots and lots of those bands and were kind of seen as part of that scene. And then when we came over here and played with those bands as well, people go, why are you playing with Bratmobile? You're not a Riot Girl band. They couldn't get their head around the fact that actually, well, we'd actually changed to some extent, but that we were actually, in our eyes at least, part of that scene. We'd actually been in Olympia pretty much the summer when they were coming up with the name Riot Girl. We were there right
one of the things you don't miss about, obviously at the time, the music press was very, very powerful. And obviously what had happened there was that we had been categorised by them and therefore by their readership and the audiences as this kind of band. So then to be presenting ourselves as associated with that kind of band, who they'd also pigeonholed as kind of angry American women who were kind of cool, it just did not compute, and it kind of it messed up their categorisation. So that's something I really don't miss. I mean, I think people have very mixed feelings about the demise of the music press, but there were certain people within those magazines whose demise I was very happy to see.
Up next, we'll hear the title track to an EP released in 1995 called P.U.N.K. Girl.
People say she's bad, but they don't see the way she is with me. P is for the pain far away. She makes me feel Sunday. U is for you told me you appetites with her. N is for the new way dreams. She had back in her teens. K is for the kids in her. My P.U.N.K. girl. She is honest and kind, but in a way that people see as telling lies and being mean. She has thousands of dreams, but what they are I'll never know. I hope I figure in them though. I don't care if they can see just how great that can be, but I wish she'd find a way to act well for just one day. I don't mind if they can't see just how much she means to me. I still know what I will say if that girl comes my way. P is for the pain far away. She makes me feel some days. U is for you told me through other times with her. N is for the new way dreams. She had back in her teens. K is for the kids in her. My P.U.N.K. girl. She is hardened to heart and softness hidden from the world, but almost ready to unfurl.
I think we thought of ourselves, to be honest, as a punk band, and Talulah as well. I mean, it was strange in a way that we were on Sarah in the UK, but we kind of fitted.
I think it's also to do with, this is a band with women at the front, but these weren't, there's a certain kind of woman who can be in a punk band who dresses like she's in a punk band and has the attitude, and neither Amelia nor Kathy really did that. So I remember problems we'd have playing live, especially in the UK, is that you do the sound check. This is when we didn't have our own sound man. And then often while I was playing, would go out to the front to see what it sounded like. And the sound man had put like 70 layers of reverb on the women's vocals, because girls' vocals are supposed to sound pretty.
Sure.
We kind of quite want the words to be heard.
Right.
But they're not decorative,
Yeah.
So I think it was quite difficult to play like a punk band when, one, you didn't look like one, and particularly when the two women were at the front, and me and Pete and Matthew didn't really look like punks. We could make a noise, but you were always in a bit of a fight with in a band like Heavenly, because we were against the grain of, we didn't really fit. We didn't even fit in Sarah, really, because we weren't that kind of introspective and sensitive band. It was more angry than that.
Here's another song from the P.U.N.K. Girl EP, a song with a chilling twist called Hearts and Crosses.
romantic day. He took her hand and led her away. He pushed her down, removed her clothes, then put his body close than close. He held her mouth when she tried to scream. It was all so different from in her dreams. He never smiled, he never whispered. He bit her hard, but never kissed her.
recently did put out a Heavenly Singles compilation. Have you found that that's maybe raised the profile of the group?
Yeah, I think it did, because we'd always resisted going back and putting anything out again. Our friend Ian, who runs Damaged Goods, which is actually a punk label, actually, and he does Billy Childish and really old punks and stuff. Like, the Lurkers are on his label.
And younger, he does the Corrects, if you know that.
Yeah. It's a great label, he does really good stuff. And he's wanted to do it, and we trust him. And also, Alison, his partner, took all the pictures of Heavenly back in the day. So she had all the photographs, and we trust her as well. So she wasn't going to do anything rubbish with the sleeve. I was surprised how many people wanted it, to be honest. And Ian sold a lot more of them than he kind of expected. He had to repress it. He wasn't expecting to do that.
And actually, the thing that surprised him and surprised us was how many he sold in the US. Because he wasn't even properly out in the US. It was only out on import.
Okay.
Had we all known it was going to do as well in the US, we might actually have tried to figure out someone in the US to put it out. But we'd kind of forgotten, I think, that Heavenly was quite big in the US. And actually, it's been brilliant. We suddenly had much more interest.
I think it was also interesting seeing it reviewed, because it got lots of attention in the digital press and the press. There's an awful lot of revisionism going on, where people are saying, people said this about this band, but actually this, which was kind of gratifying, because people were being honest. They were saying that they were talking about what I was just talking about, which was the incredible prejudice that existed against bands like ours in the music press at the time, and the misogyny, basically. It was a misogyny fest in the UK in the 90s. So it was really nice to have it re-listened to and kind of its true intentions and its true nature sort of discussed, rather than a load of prejudice. So that was really quite nice, I think.
It is. I mean, it's partly that actually the music journalists that are now writing about us are no longer desperately trying to prove themselves or prove that they have things in their trousers, or they're just actually listening to music and thinking about it. And I think when they do that, they hear good things from us, which is good.
From the final Heavenly album, 1996's Operation Heavenly, here's a song called Ben Sherman.
He's saving up for a new Ben Sherman. He says he'd like to fuck Uma Thurman. I don't think that he'll get too far with either those dreams. He's got his eye on a pair of Pumas. He says I should cut my hair like Uma's. If he thinks I go along with his circumstances, when you call my name, it better be me that you want and not anyone else. If it's all the same, I don't want to get into bed with your dreams there as well. Get through your head, or do I have to yell that I don't want that? Well, I might desert you, 'cause if I get a shot back and sides, will that hurt you? He says he's starting to feel quite horny. I say shut up and read your Nick Hornby. Then he pouts to try to sway me, but I don't think so. He says you can't waste a good erection. I think I'm starting to lose affection. I once felt for him it's over. I tried to tell him, when you call my name, it better be me that you want and not anyone else. If it's
Obviously, Heavenly ended in a very kind of sudden and tragic way with the death of your brother, Matthew, and the rest of the band did continue on its marine research after that. When you switched from one project to the other, was there also like a switch in musical direction? And did you find that a lot of the Heavenly fans joined you? We
actually decided to stop music completely. This is actually happens quite often in our history. We decided absolutely not, no more music, because it seemed wrong. Matthew was such a key part of Heavenly, and we just didn't feel like making music. And we took an entire year out, and then basically Rob and Kathy invited Pete and I out to lunch and kind of broached the subject of should we try and have another band. So we did. But what we thought with marine research was we were listening to rather different music by then. We were listening to a lot of kind of Stereolab and broadcast and things like that. But we also thought that it would be wrong to have a drummer. So it would be good to have sequenced drums.
Okay.
I started writing songs that I thought would work really well with sequenced drums. And we found this guy called DJ Downfall who made dance records so he could sequence. And I also knew he'd been a Heavenly fan, even though he was very young. And so he joined the band, listened to all the songs, and then went, yeah, but actually these don't really sound like broadcast or Stereolab, and I don't think they'll work with sequenced drums. So I think you need a real drummer. And we thought he was just kind of giving us the, go away. And they said, but I can play drums. Why don't I be your drummer instead of your sequencer? And we're like, oh, okay, well, you are probably quite different from Matthew. We can probably just get our heads around that. But by that time, we'd been through this kind of whole process of we had to sound different. And what we decided to do in marine research was really think in a way that we never had before. We'd kind of written songs and kind of hammered them out, but to really think about the texture of them. And I remember we used to have these practices where we'd try and imagine that we were in the ocean with fog all around us and there was a bell in the distance and ships were about to bump into each other, and I don't know what we were doing. Anyway,
we basically done an improvisational theatre company for a bit, but then luckily we started writing some songs again.
But the result was, the songs, I'm really rubbish at not just writing quite pop songs, but I think the instrumentation in marine research was much better or much more interesting. And one of the things that happened is that you asked if people came with us. I think we probably lost some people, but I think we kept an awful lot of people. And actually there were certain bands that had really got into us by then. So Fugazi had us support them. Okay. I remember all their audience kind of going, what? But, there was a few people there that loved it. And actually, marine research got to play Reading Festival. We got to actually do quite a lot of the things that Heavenly had never done. I think just because we were a bit braver by that point about just saying we more or less acting as if we deserve it. Mm-hmm. We know we're a good band, treat us that way. So, and it worked miraculously.
Here's another highlight from the Soul Marine Research album, 1999's Songs from the Gulf Stream, called At the Lost and Found.
Like one half of a print made with a piece of string through folded paper, you stand there before me, so like a gal I knew, so close it's painful to you. Wear sleeves to hide the scars, I know just where they are, I almost go to ask. Like one half of a film, two ways the same, beginning, good end looking. You stand there before me, so like a girl I knew, so close it's spooky to you. Hide everything that's real with funny drunken spills, I almost go to here. You tug your hair with your hand, adjust your specs, you mumble quietly hand. We haven't met, well yes I know but I can't explain just yet. The lost and found, like one half of a print made
So after Marine Research, you went on to form a group called Tender Trap and released 4 LPs between 2002 and 2012 that I don't want to gloss over because I think there's some really great music there.
Well, I really, really like Tender Trap, and I think that somehow they have been forgotten. It's interesting. I think, Talulah, Gosh and Heavenly were clearly seminal at doing a particular thing, and then Marine Research came next and did a very interesting thing as well. But I'm really proud of some of the things that we did in Tender Trap, but I think we weren't kind of mainstays of a particular scene. I guess we were a little bit older.
I think at the time we had 2 little kids.
Yeah.
So it was, what we could do was relatively limited because we had 2 little kids to look after. So I think that it couldn't really go abroad. It was constrained by circumstances of life, but it was really good fun. And it was actually one thing it did do that you were talking about, the ambition to have like a girl group, lots of female harmonies, which Heavenly had 2 female vocalists, but there were 3 in Tender Trap. So when it really worked, all 3 of them were singing. It could be fantastic.
Yeah, it's the only band I've ever been in where the females outnumbered the males. They're very good.
It was great. It wasn't frustrating. I mean, we had little kids to look after, but it could only do so much at the time because of where we were in our lives, I think.
Here's Tender Trap with a song from their 3rd album, 2010's Dansette, called Fireworks.
Met at a punk rock show. This was the best band that played in so. I bought a single, gave you a smile. You turned away and blushed. It was so ridiculous. You had a lot to say. I bought it all on that winter's day. It was the start of an epic film. I didn't recognize the inciting incident.
And I think it was starting to get somewhere and we would have carried on with it. But in fact, that was another death that changed that, which is my father died. I mean, of old age, it was fine. But it meant that we had to look after my mother. And that in turn was really difficult to do, to find a house that we could all live together in London. It's just too expensive. So we moved out of London to the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Basically to look after my mum and the kids, and that made it too difficult to keep Tender Trap going. But we'd moved to someone,
and then my mum moved in as well.
So we've now got Rob's mum as well. So. But it meant we'd moved to this place where we didn't know anyone, and so again we were like, okay, that's the end of music. Then can't do Tender Trap anymore. That's that. We don't know anyone, and that was the point at which we started the Catenary Wires, and the point at which Rob had to learn to sing, because I said I like harmonies too much to not have two vocals, and so if there's only two of us, you've got to sing. So yeah,
and I was like, I'm the driver. But don't be making me sing. Yeah, so that is exactly what happened. So we were back down just the two of us with one little guitar. It was an acoustic guitar which we'd given to one of our daughters, which she wasn't very interested in.
Again, you stole someone else's guitar.
And so Catenary Wires began just a little fireside songs, really. I mean, it was just the two of us for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And it was like the opposite of Tender Trap. Tender Trap was really loud. I mean, when we played, it was a real racket, and it was great fun. And I think that Catenary Wires was the most dramatic change, partly because I started singing, so there's suddenly this moaning going on in the background, and also it's quiet.
It's quiet, and also initially quite sad and slow, partly because we thought we hadn't really done sad and slow before, so we thought we'll try that. Of course, inevitably we've kind of sped up and got a bit jollier over time. But
yeah, I think my favourite Heavenly songs are always the sort of melancholy ones. I like your singing. I like Amelia singing on melancholy songs. I think it really works. And so, yeah, I suppose also maybe I was imposing my taste more for the first time, because the direction of it was more, in melancholic or ironic, but it certainly wasn't very fizzy.
I can fizzy, yeah, it's true.
From the Catenary Wires debut album, 2015's Red Red Skies, here's a song featuring Rob and Amelia trading vocals called Like a Fool.
You stole right into my heart. Now you're in there, there's no way back.
If I tore us apart, you know it would be really black. So
say you love me, say that it's true. I'll believe you like a fool, like a fool. Now that we're this age, I was hoping that we might find
wisdom, calm and kindness. I'm naive and oh so blind, so
say you love me, say that it's true. I'll believe you like a fool. Black. Can you feel that pain inside? I think it's a heart attack. Say you love me, say that it's true. I'll believe you like a fool. Say you love me, say that it's true. I'll believe you, 'cause I'm the kind of fool who hangs around after school just to get a little glimpse of you. Say you love me, say you love me.
And then that in turn has evolved really beautifully, because we've gradually acquired people in the band who are much better musicians than ourselves. So the last LP we did, I think it's probably the best. I think it's the best thing we've done, partly because the songs are good, but also just because the instrumentation is fantastic. And so there is still a punk edge to it, which probably comes out more in the lyrics maybe than the music some of the time. But we've got this weird luxury of playing with people who are just incredibly good musicians. So, which is a different thing actually, because people in Heavenly were really good, and Tender Trap, but this is like a different level. And I wasn't sure whether our spirit would get somehow squashed by that we'd become all, I don't know, just a bit mainstream. But I think we've managed to get something good out of it, actually. And it is quite nice playing in a band where if you stop playing for a bit, the rest of the band carries on. And it just carries on rolling. It's a really, really, really nice machine to be part of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's also a band where all 5 people sing, which we've never had before.
Yeah.
So we've got, I mean, you heard right at the start when I was talking about musicals, I love harmonies. And I finally get as many harmonies as I want.
Yeah.
When we haven't played that many shows, we haven't been able to, obviously, but when we're playing the songs and everybody's singing live, it can be quite overwhelming. It's just the nicest feeling.
Yeah.
So it's quite an exciting band to be in at the moment. It's got a huge amount of potential. So we've only belatedly realised the full potential of all those vocals. So the next album, in a way, the songs we're writing now will probably be a bit more accommodating of those possibilities, if you see what I mean. Room for voices to interact.
One of my favorite songs on the last album, Always on My Mind, is very much that kind of sunshine pop harmony extravaganza. So I'm glad that's a road that you're exploring further.
From the Catenary Wire's most recent LP, last year's Burling Gap, here's a song rich in harmonies called Always on My Mind.
Something about the way you looked at me as the camera clicked and made a memory. Sunlight shining on your shoulders, autumn rays before the nights get colder. Transports me now, I'm so much older. You are always on my mind. You are always on my mind. And now the memories come, stir the sands of time. That's why you're always on my mind. You are always on my mind. Nothing can overcome the love that's left behind. Oh, why did you leave me? Oh, why did you leave me behind? That's why you're always on my mind. That's why you're always on my mind.
Actually, that was one of the last songs. It's one of the ones that I wrote. It was one of the last ones to go onto that LP. And by the time I wrote that, I knew what the others could do vocally. So the chorus in that song can only work if you've got 4 singers, because there's a call and response, and they both have to harmonise. So unless you've got 4 people who can sing, you can't really do that. Not live, anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of song that was written with that kind of potential in mind, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. So I think the whole next album should be entirely like the Mamas and Papas, but we'll see.
I wouldn't turn that off.
No,
it probably isn't heading that direction, actually, but I like the idea of it.
it might to some extent, actually. I think because when you got lots of vocals, because when we started Catenary-wise, because there's just two of us and one guitar, you had to really work at the lyrics because that was the other feature. Whereas, the truth of it is most other bands we've been in, you might hear the lyrics on the record, but you wouldn't really hear them live. But playing those Catenary-wise songs, the early ones live, you could hear every word, so you really had to make an effort lyrically, and we did, and also to give it depth. So whereas now, if you've got, a song has got all these vocals, then it takes the burden off the lyrics a little bit. I mean,
dangerous talk.
No, they're still got to be good. But they haven't got to do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure where to go, but I think it means you end up being more repetitive, because if you've got lots of voices, you don't want to hear them going around convoluted sentences all the time. You want to sort of get into them. So we're not quite sure where we're going yet, but it's something like that.
Well, if your past track record is any indication, it'll be worth listening to.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope so. I think it will. I feel quite confident about it, which in the way that I don't think we wouldn't always feel very confident. I mean, quite often we would think, like Amy says, we just stop now, or uncertainty, but it feels like it really knows what it is, I think.
We shall see. You see, there's me being negative.
Yeah, there you go again. Look, I might write the most amazing song this evening, and then Amelia will say that sounds like something else.
It'll never work.
And it'll be gone.
Well, then you'll have to start a new project for those songs.
Yeah, on my own. I'll do driving, I'll play the bass, I'll do the singing, I'll do everything.
I did start talking about the fact that I was going to reinstate Heavenly and write some Heavenly songs, but I I suspect this is never going to happen. But maybe, if I ever have some spare time amongst everything else.
Yeah, right.
From the second Catenary Wires album, 2019's Till the Morning, here's a song called 16 Again.
It came without a warning. No more tomorrow mornings for you. A joke has lost its punchline. She can't believe they call time on you. It's a November day, just like any other day. As the world goes on its way, a world breaks in two. Such a sudden goodbye, never even time to cry. Now she's on her own, just like she's 16 again. She's 16 again. Words kept for another day, but too late. And her day's getting home. She tries ringing up your phone, but too late. It's a November day, just like any other day. As the world goes on its way, a world breaks in two. Such a sudden goodbye, never even time to cry. Now she's on her own, just like she's 16 again. She's 16 again. Such a sudden goodbye, never even
And that does seem to be sort of a philosophy from project to project, where it doesn't seem like some are side projects and some are the main attraction. Like you seem to have the same amount of focus on whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's funny because at the moment, I mean, leaping forward, because now we've got the Catenary Wires and we've got Swansea Sound going on.
Yeah.
And that seems to, I mean, they're so different. And I tend to do more of the songwriting these days. And if I come up with a new song, it's pretty obvious whether it's a Catenary Wires song or a Swansea Sound song. I think we're just really lucky that like we're able to kind of, we haven't run out of ideas. I don't know. I suppose for me, things have changed because like I've the most gradual promotion over the course of my life. So I started off as the bassist, then got promoted to driver, and then got demoted back to bassist for quite a long time, and then got to play guitar, and then in Catenary Wires actually got to sing, and then at that quite late stage, I decided that I hadn't written songs myself since I was in my first band in Bristol when I was a kid. I just don't know why, I hadn't really been bothered. So suddenly then so quite late on, I suddenly decided that, yeah, I'm going to write the songs now. So it was almost like there was a reserve of energy that I hadn't really tapped, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I'm really happy playing the bass, like, because you can be a little bit drunk. And if you're playing with a really good drummer, nobody looks at you. It's just really good fun. If you sort of play a guitar, let alone start singing, then people start looking at you. You've got to be kind of reasonably on top of your game. That's the bit I don't like.
Yeah, it's not that far away from just Peter Hook going dum 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 dum.
Yeah,
I know. I'd say also the person driving the van. I mean, I might go back to that again. Actually.
Yeah. So so Swansea Sound is all Rob songs basically, with me adding kind of stupid singing over the top, and then Catenary Wires is a combination of Rob songs, my songs, and songs that we've written together. Early on, it was very much songs that we'd written together. It's slightly pulled apart now. But they are, they're just really, really different. But they both are absolutely big focuses of attention for us.
Yeah, I just feel very lucky that we can do it, actually, partly because we never tried to sign to a major. We never went through that process of being hyped and then being a disappointment. Mm. Our enthusiasm, I feel the same about it as I did when I was 18, really. And it hasn't really changed. Mm. Whereas, and some things have become easier. So we know lots of people. So when Swansea Sound started, I was like, I really want to do a sort of punk band, because it was during lockdown and it felt like everybody was doing ambient noise and there was lots of acoustic guitars going on. And I don't mind that, but there's just enough. And I thought the best response to lockdown was to start a punk band. Punk pop band. And because Amelia had sung in the acoustics with Hugh, it wasn't difficult to send him an email saying, look, Hugh, he was even more bored than we are. And he was like, so do you want to sing a song? And he went, yeah, all right. So we sent him the song and he sang it into his mobile phone, sent it back, we mixed it in, and that was the first Swansea Sound song.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was really, really DIY. And we didn't even meet.
Yeah.
And Ian, who plays drums on the record, played the drums on a sort of keyboard. So he worked out how to sort of touch type his drum kit. So it sounds like a real drum kit, and I would never have been able to tell that it wasn't. So he was doing that at his little flat in Folkestone. We were here doing the rest of it, and Hugh was in a cupboard in a house in Wales singing into his mobile phone. And so DIY came good, because we could do it all.
Here's Swansea Sound, with a track from their debut LP, last year's Live at the Rum Punchin', a song that lampoons a few unnamed musicians who have given voice to reactionary opinions in recent years, called Freedom of Speech.
I said, hey, new DJ, cause I hated reggae. Every shy man's best friend. I was so sensitive then. Well, I'm still sensitive now, but my profile's going down. Oh, my life is accursed. I endorse Britain first. Where are my stage and my audience gone? Where are my people and what has gone wrong?
Yeah, in fact, you asked earlier what was the difference between then and now. And actually, I was thinking about it earlier because someone was saying to me, why did there used to be so few women doing production or mastering? And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, in the past, everyone recorded in studios. You just had to do that.
Right.
And therefore, the only way you would ever got to be a producer in a studio is being an engineer first in someone's studio, because you'd have had to learn.
Well, first you make the tea.
Well, well, women probably could have, I can imagine they might have been thought good enough to make the tea, but kind of no one ever thought of having women as engineers in a professional studio and then building up. Whereas now I'm hoping that there will be tons of women engineers coming through, because all you need is a computer. You can make music without even ever meeting each other, and you can make videos from stuff you've shot on your phone. It's just so incredibly democratizing and hopefully gender balancing as well.
To bring it full circle, your most recent project.
So it's called Under the Bridge, and it's a compilation album. And in a way, I think that it came out of when we were talking earlier about the Heavenly Singles LP, because when that came out, we had to go back and find old pictures, and we had to delve back in the past to help Ian promote it. And I got really into it, because I'm never normally at all interested in the past. I don't read anything I've written. I don't look back, but we kind of had to. And I kind of found myself re-engaging with it and remembering all these people that we played gigs with, and also remembering how excellent Sarah Records was, actually, which at the time, because I was a drunk bassist, becoming driver, hadn't really appreciated. So, and I became aware of other bands who, some of whom, like us, had mutated into new things, like we have with Catenary Wires. And a lot of these bands were still, like us, they'd never particularly cared whether they were signed to a major. They just loved doing music. And an awful lot of them were still doing, and wouldn't take long to find out that they're still doing really good stuff. So I contacted them all and said, we've got a label now. How do you feel about the compilation album of what we're doing now? So in a way, it's a reunion, but it's not a nostalgic reunion. It's a kind of, it's what are we doing now, rather than another reissue or celebration of what people used to do. And amazingly, there's 14 bands who are all doing, and it's a good record. It's like Sarah, it's quite diverse. I mean, it's not just one genre, but the spirit and the attitude and the ethos and the spirit of it is still very much intact, I think. And
I'm the person in the two of us that says, that's never going to work. I said it's a good idea in principle, but those 14 songs by people that used to be on a label all that time ago, they're going to be terrible. We're going to get their cast-offs, and even their best is going to be terrible. But actually, I was completely wrong. We obviously knew some of the bands were still brilliant, like Even As We Speak and Jetstream Pony and things. We totally knew that they were doing good stuff. But actually, all these other bands are doing amazing things as well.
I think they're good. You just got an insight into what it's like being in a band or running a label with Amelia. So when I come up with a new song, quite often she go, that's all right, and look quite dismissive. And then 2 days later, she'll be singing it. It's hard work for me. I think you've got to realise I'm seeking sympathy here. Anyway, that's what the LP is. It's a compilation of what our old friends are doing now.
Yeah, and it seems very fitting because the label itself doesn't seem like it had, like Sarah Records had sort of, not an anti-nostalgia thing, but they did sort of stop on a dime on their 100th release, right? And haven't been doing reissues of anything, so...
No, they're admirably rigorous about all that, and I share that attitude. And it was quite nice when things come back sometimes, but there's so much reissuing going on. The world is awash with vinyl of things you probably already got on CD that I don't like all that. So the spirit of it is Sarah-like, in as much as like we're interested in pop music, I'm interested in the now. We're not wallowing in the past. And so, so it is in the spirit of Sarah in that respect.
Here's a new song by the Catenary Wires, recorded for the new Skepwax compilation Under the Bridge, which touches upon the messy legacy of Phil Spector, called Wall of Sound.
See the dragons on the hill, the people love them still, all the bummers seem so right, they're hiding in plain sight, we bury all the dirty secrets, we cover up the dark side of their charms, all is calm, where's the harm, I the dragon to be for flu, free flow wine. And yes, maybe I flirt, but did I really make this happen? protect them still. All of us scared to defame. In case we share the blame. No one tells their dirty secrets. No one tells the dark side of their charms. All is calm through the heart. Not an illusion. I'm lost in confusion. How many has this one dragon slain? Where do you remember? Was I just September? Hidden by a wall of sun, it'll strike again. Hiding in a wall of not an illusion. I'm lost in confusion. How many has this one dragon slain? Where do you remember? Was I just September? Hidden by a wall of sun. He'll strike again. He'll strike again.
You both have careers outside of music, and both very successful careers. I mean, Amelia, you've got a CBE and OBE in economics, which I mentioned not just because it's an impressive pursuit, but just because a lot of the musicians I know are almost superstitious about like math and numbers because they're just so right-brained. Like they're not interested in any numbers. And of course, usually they end up signing terrible contracts.
Well, yeah. I have to admit, I'm not the best at signing contracts either. But in terms of numbers, I actually thought that music and maths were meant to go together within the brain. So that's interesting. But I basically ended up doing economics because I was in a band, because I was good at science at school, applied to do science, then decided, no, I don't want to be that uncool. But I couldn't do anything else. I'd never written essays or anything, so I couldn't do anything arty. So economics was kind of the most arty thing that I could do.
That's really quite sad.
And then when I got to university, I did all right at it. But I probably wasn't thinking I'd be an economist. But then we had Heavenly, and I was thinking, well, actually, I want to kind of focus on doing music. And so the best way to focus on doing music is to do a master's degree, because here I could get funded for it. And then I could do a master's degree part-time and do music as well. And then that was kind of going all right. And then I realised that maybe I better stay on and do a doctorate, because I was still doing the band and I still didn't want to basically get a job. So at the end of a very long time, I ended up with a doctorate in economics and kind of realised that then I basically was an economist. So, but I don't think I would have been an economist if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to do a band.
I wouldn't have ended up. I ended up working in TV, making TV programs, and that was because of the band as well, actually. Because when Heavenly started, somebody had to make a video, because videos were now a thing.
Right.
And I thought, okay, I'll try and do that. And so I got an old Super 8 camera and I made a video. I was also doing a PhD at the time, which I never finished. I gave up. I was studying English and literature. But I made this video of I Fell in Love Last Night, and then it got played on some late night MTV program, which was where indie videos went in those days. And it was so exciting having a video on the telly that I thought, right, I'm going to do that. So, and I rapidly discovered that making videos for other people's bands wasn't much fun. So I ended up in TV and making TV drama. So that was probably, that was a side effect of the band, actually.
Yeah. And the strange thing is now that my work and Swansea Sound have slightly converged, because Swansea Sound, one of the things, as you heard Rob talking about earlier, is about the role of big corporate tech in the world, and particularly streaming platforms and music, but more generally the unbalanced benefits that we get from big tech. And that's actually what my work is these days about as well.
I would say that when I write the Swansea Sound songs, I don't think I'm going to write a song about the unbalanced benefits of big tech.
I don't quite write my slides.
I'm writing songs about corporate vampires and people sucking the life out of music and most other good things that human beings do. So my attitude to it is probably less that of an economist.
Mine is more measured, but not a million miles away.
No, that's true. But they have overlapped. It's true.
Here's another track from the new Swansea Sound LP, Live at the Rum Punchin', their only song to date to be released on the dreaded streaming services that need not be named, called Corporate Indie Band.
It's so interesting because like a lot of musicians do have that sort of, the work-life balance is kind of askew, and it seems like you found a really good balance and, you know, more than that, a convergence.
Yeah.
I guess so. I think we're lucky just because obviously the fact that we live together makes it much more likely things are going to happen. So if you, I make jokes about Amelia dissing my lovely songs, but the fact is if you've got somebody else in the house who will sing or play straight away, then things get the momentum quite quickly.
Yeah.
Compared to if you're on your own, it can be quite a soul-destroying thing trying to, there's nobody to hear it. There's nobody to, it's like when I worked in TV, the people who worked in comedy very often wrote as duos. So if you're writing a drama, then you can write it on your own. Mm-hmm. But if you're writing comedy, it really works to have a partner because somebody can say, that's not funny. And then you cross it out.
Yeah.
You can go on thinking it's really funny for months. And then finally someone goes, that's not very funny, is it? So having somebody who can...
So I have that role. That's not...
Yeah, you are the that's not funny person.
Yeah.
One of the things, just generally, that's been really nice about where we're at now with Get Wax and these new bands is that we've managed to hook up with 2 really good American labels. So Happy Birthday to Me, it's been one who released the Swansea Sound record, and Ed at Shelf Life released the Catenary Wires record. And we didn't know either of them. We knew them through the scene again because we knew people who knew them. So you can you can see what they've been doing. You know that they're cool. And then so during lockdown, we got to know them and sent them the music, and they released it. And I think that I'm really looking forward to meeting them, just because we've done countless emails and gone back and forth, and they've taken these things on and have tried to promote them in America, which is obviously difficult for us at a distance. So yeah, I just want to do a shout for them really, because they've been great.
Yeah, it would be very nice to come and actually play in America. I think we would have done it had it not been locked down. But
yeah, well, maybe we still will. I think maybe next year.
Excellent.
I know that Mike is very keen to. I mean, Mike, who's down in Athens. He's in Georgia, isn't he? But him and his partner organises gigs, so I think he's particularly well set up to make it happen if we can get over there. So, and I reckon we will.
Excellent. Well, here's hoping. I'll be there no matter how many masks I have to wear.
Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
In Chicago, right?
Oh wow! I don't think we've ever played Chicago in any band, have we? Or did? Heavenly played Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah, but if we don't go to Chicago, it's a long journey, isn't it? Just like
yeah, it's right in the center of America.
Yeah.
So if you're just on one of the coasts, I might have to do some traveling.
Yeah, sorry. Normally our little tours were like West Coast or East Coast.
Sure.
And then we get all back home again. So
we'll see what we can do. I do like Chicago.
Yeah, I liked it too. But yeah, maybe next year, I hope.
Excellent.
I mean, there's nothing to stop us really, apart from having 2 sometimes grumpy teenagers who will be torn because they really want to come, because going to America is cool. Mm-hmm. But going to America while your mum and dad play music is not cool. So they're sort of conflicted.
Worked for Paul and Linda and Wings.
Yeah, that you wouldn't describe that as cool, though, would you?
I would at the time, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, it's up to them.
What would be really good is if they learned to play well enough to actually be in our band.
That would not be cool. For some reason, Amelia thinks it'd be really nice to be in a band with the kids. And I'm like, that is just sick. I'm sick in a bad English way, not sick in a good way. And I think, luckily, they agree with me.
That is true.
It's just unnatural.
Yeah, exactly. It's what it is. Wrong. It's just wrong.
Peter Parrott's in the band with his son.
Yeah, even that I find it good.
It's a very good album they made together.
It's a great album. Yeah, no, I agree. But I'd still rather not know that he's his son.
There is precedent.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not right.
It'll never work.
There'd be so many arguments. Do you imagine? I make Talulah gosh like a tea party.
And that's just about all the time we have for this week's episode. I'd like to thank Amelia and Rob for taking the time to talk with us. And if you'd like to learn more, direct your browser to skepwax.com, where you can learn more about the recently released Under the Bridge compilation and find links to their various profiles on social media and Bandcamp. Be sure to tune in again next week, when we'll be hearing a set of songs about guitars. But before we go, we'll leave you with Tender Trap, and the closing track from their 4th and final album, 2012's 10 Songs About Girls, called Love Is Hard Enough. This is Charlie, signing off.
I could write a book about things that you say, about things that you feel. It would break the hearts of romantic types that make you feel ill. 'Cause you're so undemonstrative. Yes, you're so non-responsive. I could write a song fantasies, but you turn your back, 'cause you're so anti-masturbative.